Right, good morning everyone. It's now Tuesday, July 1st. Happy birthday to my sister. And this month is the month that I've decided to kind of take a break from my other social medias. I have some pre-uploaded, like scheduled content ready to go, but I'm not actively going to be making anything because my main focus is going to be working on my Animatic pilot, The Faeries Tale. I'm going to be spending the whole month working on my series as much as I can, hopefully getting it as close to completion as possible. I have technically already started, but this work is from I want to say maybe 2 years ago. And it's about time that it's finally done and people get to see it. So as you can see, I have two graphs here. This one is an animation graph, which we're not using anymore because I've decided that it's not going to be fully animated because I'm the only person working on the project and I have multiple projects to be working on. It says slideshow scenes here, but this is basically just the animatic version of these scenes. So in order to keep the explanation brief, any seam that has been lined in the fully animated process is going to stay fully animated, but anything that was stuck in the rough stages is going to be done in animatic style just to keep things kind of moving. It is going to look a bit awkward because some scenes are still going to be fully animated and some of them are not, but this is just the best way that I can think of to get this story out there. It's been in my head for, again, about 2 years, maybe 3, and it just finally needs to be out, so this is what we're doing. Because I'm going to be spending the entire month doing this, I'm not entirely sure how I'm going to segment this video. I don't know if I'm going to check in with you guys every day or if I'm going to check in with you guys every week, but what I do know is while I'm working on the episodes and you guys kind of see what I'm working on, I'm going to be explaining the series, the inspiration, why we switched to animatic style, like the events that led up to that decision, just kind of some stuff like that. I really, really am excited to get this underway. My partner during the month of July is also going to be working on my graphic novel, Forget Me Not. I've recently brought him on as my flat color artist and my letterer, so he's going to be doing that during this month. I'm going to be working on the Faeries Tale during this month. It's going to be wild. It's going to be really fun. I'm very excited. I've been looking at this sheet that I just explained to you, and I'm debating whether or not I break up this month into stages or whether or not I break it up into scenes, if that makes sense. So, for example, I don't know if I want to be for the first week, I want scenes 6, 7, 8, 9, 11, and 12 roughed, right? Or if I want to be okay, by the end of the first week, I want to have scenes 10 and 11 finished, I don't know if I'm going to break it up in stages or if I'm going to break it up in scenes. I think the best way to do it for my brain is to break it up in scenes because the quicker I have little segments of it finished, it's like a little dopamine hit for my brain and I'm able to keep going. So I think I'm going to break it up into scenes, which means I think our focus for this week is going to be scene 10, just because scene 10 is already roughed according to my chart. Scene 11 and 12 are also roughed according to my chart, so we'll start there. And we'll see. I don't remember off the top of my head how long these scenes are. I'll have to check. But if by the end of the week we can get scene 10 finished and scene 11, at least the line work done for scene 11, I think that could be really good. We'll see what happens because I don't have a lot planned this month, but my knee is super fucked up. I did say on my on my Discord that this week I'm going to be taking a week off of streaming. So this is literally the only thing I have to do. I don't even have to stream afterwards. So maybe I'll be able to get scene 10 and scene 11 done. I'm not entirely sure, but we'll see how it goes. So first things first, what is the Faeries Tale? Forgive me, I'm going to be using my reading voice for a second. The Faeries Tale is an animatic fantasy series following a young man who doesn't believe in fairies and the fairy princess he meets and befriends. It's a story about self-discovery and familial expectations at its core, specifically how those two can conflict with one another and the struggles people face when their wants, needs, and identity don't align with what their family wants from them. Sprinkle in some magic, romance, and a little bit of trauma, and you've got a story that I firmly believe everyone will be able to either see themselves in or see a bit of someone they know in. So yeah, The Faeries Tale is an animatic series that I have been working on and developing for a good chunk of years now. I believe we started development in 2023, and it uses a lot of characters from a now defunct project, Noble Blood, which I had started working on back when I was 13. Unfortunately, back then I wasn't really able to work on it at a consistent pace for a multitude of reasons, but now that I suffer from chronic pain and I'm unable to maintain a steady job for the time being while I wait for my surgery, I figure now is probably the perfect time to bring this thing back. For the sake of my own health and for the sake of being able to get episodes out at a relatively timely manner, this is going to be an animatic series, which I've dropped that term before already, and you might be wondering what exactly I'm talking about. I'm basically talking about scenes that aren't going to be fully animated. It's rather going to be still keyframes with a little bit of motion tweening just to kind of give the illusion that it's alive. There are still some fully animated scenes in this pilot, but ultimately I've chosen to go with this animatic style just because I have a whole bunch of other things going on right now. I've got this animated pilot, I've got my graphic novel sequel, I've got my shop and conventions coming up, and I don't want people to wait too long between episodes once this pilot comes out. So that's why we're going the animatic route. On top of that, I'm also the only person drawing the keyframes, I'm the only person doing the audio balancing, I'm the only person doing all of the editing and visual effects. The only people I have helping me are the beautiful VAs and my partner who reads over my scripts for me, so this is very close to being a one-man show. Good morning, guys. I slept in a little bit. I just woke up, but today is officially the start of week 2 of working on the Faeries Tale, and oh boy, a lot of stuff happened last week. So first things first, I remember mentioning at the start of last week that my goal was to have scene 10 and possibly also scene 11 like fully roughed, lined, and colored, and that didn't happen, and here's why. I was working on scene 10. I was listening to the dialogue between Kuro and Pandora a couple of times throughout all of Tuesday, and I want to say maybe half of Wednesday. And it just kind of dawned on me that that conversation, or at least the direction that that conversation goes in, doesn't really serve the show all that much. If anything, I think it actively hinders what the message is between Kuro and Pandora. The original idea was that Kuro was a bit of a floater. He didn't really know what to do with his life, and the people around him kept trying to give him a goal, give him direction, and he would just kind of push them all away and he wouldn't really talk to any of them. That element of his character still kind of exists, but it's not really as strong as other elements of his character anymore. And I just feel like that entire conversation in scene 10 highlights the wrong elements of who Kuro is, who Pandora is, and how they interact with each other. So I may or may not have decided that I'm rewriting that entire conversation. Yay! And it's not just scene 10 that's being rewritten, I'm also rewriting scene 5, or at least the second half of scene 5, which is the conversation between Kuro and his brother Jimmy. Because, again, it originally highlighted the fact that Kuro was a little bit of a drifter and his friends and his family were trying to help him find direction and it just wasn't working. But not really a part of Kuro's character anymore, so we're going to repurpose the conversation. I have some of the rewrites for scene 5, I haven't finished it, and same for scene 10, I've got some of it but I haven't finished it. But that was only the start of our problem, there is more. So I started working on the Faeries Tale in 2023. I got my voice lines from all of my VAs in 2023. And the fact that now in 2025, I'm finally sitting down and changing and editing it, a lot of the voice actors are not available to work on the project anymore. Out of the 5 that I have, only 2 are still willing and able to work on the project. So I need 3 new voice actors to fully redo the entirety of episode 1, all because I want to change these 2 little scenes to better fit the story. And then I was opening scenes 6 to 9 because those 4 scenes I realized in my little chart have not been roughed. And I was like, that's kind of weird. Why is it still only storyboards? Why didn't I go through and rough it the way I roughed everything else? You know why? It's because those scenes still have my placeholder audio for Mother. And so I was like, okay, that's cool, that's fine. I'm gonna open up the audio, like the master file. I'm gonna grab Mother's voice lines because I have Mother's voice lines from 2023, and I'm just gonna pop them in. Chat. Basically, the master file is corrupted. It's gone. I can't get it back. And the same goes for Mother's voice lines. I don't know why Mother's voice was the only one that was affected by this, but it's gone. And so, like, maybe 2 weeks after I got confirmation from Mother's voice actor that she's still willing to be a part of the project, I had to DM her and be like, hey, I'm really sorry, but the audio files that you sent me are like all messed up now and I can't use them anymore and I can't download them from the Google Drive because it looks like you took them down. Do you still have them? Unfortunately, she did not still have them, but she was happy to re-record them for me. And we also started discussing stuff like payments for the voice actors, because the pilot, this first episode, is volunteer work, but it was always my intention from episode 2 onwards to pay the voice actors. And so I talked to her a little bit. I have never paid a voice actor before, and she has done a lot of notable work, so she kind of helped me figure out like a reasonable rate for the VAs. So we now have that locked in for future episodes. Everything is good. And I'm a little bit stuck right now because it's not a fully animated pilot. It's an animatic pilot is what I've been calling it. And so that means a lot of it is just stills with like tweening or motion graphics to kind of make it feel a little bit more alive. And that technically means that I can work on scenes 6 to 9 before I have the voice lines for Mother, before I have the new shit. And then I can just like not do the lip sync, and when her voice comes in, I just adjust the timing of the stills. But I'm not sure if I want to do that or if I want to do the 6 scenes that I can work on, because out of all of the scenes, there's only 6 that I can work on at the moment out of 12. And like do the line art, do the color, skip the lip sync, but then do all of the backgrounds for those scenes. I'm kind of leaning more towards doing that. But I'm not entirely sure, because like the tone that she uses for voice lines could be different than the tone of the placeholder lines, which means I might want to change the posing and stuff like that. So I think we're gonna do backgrounds for the most part. I also went ahead and redid the chart. I showed you guys last week. This is like the old chart. This is the slideshow scenes or the animatic scenes chart, and it got really messy, especially because I double checked scene 4 because it says that it was rough lined and lip synced, and I opened it and it was disgusting and I hated it, and so I redid that scene. So I just decided to make an entirely new one, like a nice clean one that's got all of the scenes put together in it. So as you can see, from last week, I completely redid scene 4. So the line color, the roughs for scene 4 are all done. All I can do at the moment before the new voice lines come in is backgrounds. So these first 4 grids can be done for scenes 1 to 4 and then 11 and 12. And then that's the most I can work on at this current point in time. So we fully redid scene 4. We fully did scene 12. And then I like double checked the roughs for scene 11. I was working a lot on scene 10. Like I spent all of Tuesday and Wednesday doing scene 10, but because that's one of the scenes getting rewritten, I haven't updated it yet. So what I'm thinking of doing this week is I'm going to start by coloring scene 2, because scene 2 is the fight scene. It is a fully animated scene. So it's probably going to take me all week just to color that one scene. But if I do happen to have time, I want to get scene 1 out of the way, because scene 1 is literally just a JPEG of the town and like slowly being zoomed in to the place in town where the fight is happening. So if I take the time to sit down and draw that PNG of the town, then I can just kind of have all 4 sections of scene 1 done. That's a stretch goal because, again, scene 2 is probably going to take all week just to color scene 2. But that's the main goal. Stretch goal would be to have scene 1 done and probably one of the backgrounds for scene 11. Because the only reason I didn't start working on scene 11 is because there's one scene where in the background you've got like the old temple that Kuro likes to hang out at. And Kuro like physically walks up the stairs and like interacts with the door. And I don't feel comfortable like actually drawing any stills for that until the background is there, just so that I can get the placement correct. So that's the stretch goal. Ideally, we'll get all of it done, but it all depends on whether or not my son decides to bother me a lot this week. But yeah, hopefully by the next time I see you, these 3 squares are filled, and then also these 2 squares are filled, so that next week we can just work on backgrounds. So the biggest inspiration for the Faeries Tale, funnily enough, and I'm embarrassed to admit this, was League of Legends. Specifically Arcane and this one music video called Giants by, I believe the band was called True Damage. I don't know what in particular it was about these 2 pieces of media that kind of triggered this spark in me. I think it was just the experience as a whole. They're both very fun bits of media to watch and to experience. But I sat down and I witnessed them and I was like, my God, I need to make something with this. And at the time, I was already working on my graphic novel, Forget Me Not. So I don't know why, but I looked at Forget Me Not and I was like, no. This kind of spark, this kind of inspiration needs something new. And so I was flicking through my sketchbooks trying to see if I had any pre-existing ideas that I could workshop. And I saw my old characters from 2013, Kuro and Alita and Pandora and a whole bunch of others. And yeah, that's kind of what happened. League of Legends is the reason why the Fairy Tales exists. There is also this animatic series called 12 on YouTube. I was actually binge watching it while I was working on the original version of the pilot, the fully animated version of the pilot, and I put it on as background noise, but very quickly I got distracted by it. You can tell that it was written and developed by a child, and I don't necessarily mean that in a bad way, because even though it's kind of got its issues, you can feel the passion, you can feel the drive, and that alone made it an interesting watch. And the fact that so many people loved this story and it was just a glorified animatic kind of sparked something in me as well. Because I was dead set on having the Faeries Tale be fully animated, and it was killing me at the time. Like I said, I had too much going on. I couldn't do it in a timely manner. And so seeing an entire community come around this one animatic series on YouTube kind of made me feel a little bit better about potentially going the animatic route. Because I'm a very prideful person, I'm a very stubborn person. To me, if it's not fully hand-drawn animation, then it's kind of meh. But over the years and coming to terms with my own like physical capabilities, I've come to understand why people go the different routes that they go. And yeah, so basically, thank you, 12. Hey guys, it's now our 3rd July check-in, and a little bit happened. I was a little bit frustrated, but in the long run, we've made progress. So as you can see, scene 2 has had its color put in, and nothing else has been added except for the color for scene 2. But there's actually a reason for that. So I mentioned to you guys last week that I thought scene 2 would take me the entire week, and it didn't. It only took me a couple of days. I was so excited, but then I got super excited and I was like, okay, cool. I'm going to start scene 11. I'm going to do like all of the animation stuff for scene 11. And then when I draw the backgrounds, I can just edit the positioning of like the animatic frames to fit where the backgrounds are. But guess what? The old table says that scene 11 had been roughed, so I just carried that over into the new table, but it wasn't fully roughed. It was only maybe half roughed. I don't know why I put down it was finished when it wasn't, so when I opened it, I still had like half of the roughing to do. I have now finished the roughs for scene 11, and we are maybe like a third, if not halfway through the line art. So I did make more progress than just scene 2, but there was a progress like marking error, for lack of a better term, and so it doesn't look like anything has happened other than coloring scene 2. Another thing that happened that I don't want to talk about too much in depth in this video because there's going to be a whole separate video on it, but I do want to mention is that my Snoo plushies have arrived. I've finally got my Snoos. I was so excited. I spent like an entire afternoon trying to fit them all in the storage cage downstairs, and then I also had to work out shipping. I had to ship out a whole bunch of like the pre-orders and stuff, and that was a really busy like maybe day and a half. So I reckon if that didn't happen, I could have gotten through more work, but I'm really happy that they're here regardless. So this week is the week that the voice actor for Mother said that she could get to redoing her voice lines, which is I think it's scenes 6 to 9. Yeah, scene 6 to 9. So hopefully by the end of the week or maybe sometime next week, she is able to get those voice lines to me so that I can continue working on those scenes. I am also going to this week put out a, a casting call for Kuro, Alita, and Pandora, because those 3 voice actors have not gotten back to me on whether or not they want to reprise their role. And as I mentioned to them in the Discord server, I will be taking silence as a forfeit of the role. I am only going to do a private casting call at the moment because I have an email listing full of some VAs who applied for previous roles that did not get the role, but then I offered, hey, do you want to be a part of my private listing for when roles open back up? So I'm going to be doing private casting call with them. I am going to give them 2 weeks to like hand stuff in, and if in the 2 weeks either they haven't done it or they just like have said they don't want that role, then I'm going to be making the casting call public. If someone on the private casting call happens to see this, this will come out like after everything has already happened. But if the 2 weeks pass and people in the private listing still want to audition, they still can. This 2 weeks is just kind of like a quote unquote like privilege, so to speak, because I've already heard and I already like these voice actors. So because they have offered their time to me before, I'm like, hey, do you want to offer your time again for something else? I'm hoping that works out. I have a lot of female VAs on that list. I don't have a lot of male VAs. And Kuro is honestly the hardest one to do a casting call for because he's the one that I have like the least amount of confidence in when it comes to what I want the voice to sound like. So yeah, that's gonna happen this week. I'm also going to finish scene 11, and then once we finish scene 11, we're going to start doing backgrounds. So I closed the book. I don't know why I closed the book. All right, opened it again. So scene 11 is the last scene that we have on the list that needs to have its liner and its coloring done. Scene 1 is literally just a single background image, which is why I'm not working on that one just yet. But once scene 11 has the liner and the color put in, I'm going to start moving into just doing backgrounds. So the goal is to have scene 11 like lined, colored, and have the backgrounds for it done. Have scene 1 completely done because again, it's just one background image, and potentially starting the backgrounds for scene 12. I don't think I'll be able to finish it, but like starting. It's a bit of a stretch. I need like maybe 4, possibly 5 background images for scene 11. So I'll be lucky if I can completely finish scene 11 and scene 1. Starting scene 12 is going to be the stretch goal. But yeah, that's what we're going to be working on this week. So I'm probably not going to do a lot today. I have some friends who are only available to hang out today. And usually what I do is I work Sunday through Wednesday. And then Thursday, Friday, Saturday are like my off days. But my partner recently got his PC built. You might be wondering what all this is. This is my partner's PC setup. So, or at least the start of it. So on Thursday, he's going to be spending a lot of time on his PC. And so since my friends are only available, well, some of them are only available to hang out today, I'm probably going to hang out with them today, and then I'll just swap the Tuesday and the Thursday. So since my partner is going to be on his PC a lot on Thursday, I will spend my Thursday doing some work. So probably not a lot going to happen today, but again, for the week, finish scene 11, including backgrounds, finish scene 1, including the one background that it needs, and stretch goal would be starting the backgrounds for scene 12. So let's get started.
So, what is the plan with the Faeries Tale? First of all, it's not going to be uploaded here on the writing room. It's going to be uploaded on one of my other YouTube channels, Nobilis Studios. I'll leave the tag in the description if you guys are curious, because there are already weekly animatic shorts being posted up there related to the Faeries Tale and to my graphic novel Forget Me Not, so you can see a little bit of content there before the pilot goes up. But when the pilot is done, it's going to be going up there, and hopefully it does well. I'm not too sure, I'm a little bit nervous. Basically, as soon as the pilot is finished and is uploaded, I'm going to be working on the scripts for the rest of the season. But that being said, only episode 1 was a volunteer project. I have promised that from episode 2 onwards would be a paid gig, which means that I need to kind of figure out where I'm going to get the money to pay all of my beautiful voice actors. The Nobilis Studios YouTube page is not monetized, and as far as I'm aware, it's nowhere close to being monetized, so I won't be able to get ad revenue off of the pilot episode. And there is a Nobilis Studios Patreon and Coffee. However, I struggle a lot to maintain putting up consistent rewards on Patreon. I've kind of just been using it as a tip jar with little behind the scenes content when I remember to post it, which I know is not what a lot of people want out of subscribing to a content creator's Patreon. This is kind of where my Etsy store comes in, because as you guys know, I have a plushie line that's going to be coming in soon, known as the Snooze. And while the Snooze do stand on their own, they are also part of the Faeries Tale ecosystem, for lack of a better term. So I have decided that once the Snooze pay for themselves in sales, any extra revenue will go towards the Faeries Tale season, but I'm not entirely sure how that's gonna go. That being said, if you want to support the Faeries Tale financially, then again, there is a Patreon and a Coffee. If you want to get something physical or tangible for your efforts, I do have the Snoop plushies on the Etsy shop. I have been thinking about doing more direct Faeries Tale merch, but I really don't want to do it during the pilot, just because I'm a bit worried about the pilot's performance, you know? And if you want to support the Faeries Tale but you do not have the financial capacity to do so, then the easiest way to support the pilot is to simply watch the pilot when it comes out. I feel like a lot of people underestimate the value that their watch time has and how their watch time will continue to push a video into the algorithm and then get more people to watch. It's kind of like a snowball effect, honestly. Obviously, I will be working on the Faeries Tale regardless of whether or not we get any funding. The funding is strictly for the voice actors because I feel that they deserve to be paid for offering their labor to me and to this project. It would be nice if after all of the voice actors are paid, there is still a little bit of leftover change for myself, but obviously, this is what I'm passionate about. This is a story that is very near and dear to me, so I'm going to continue to work on it regardless. It just means the episodes might not come out or be made public until I can afford to pay these beautiful, beautiful people. And they are beautiful people. Their work is gorgeous. I cannot wait for you guys to see just how good these voice actors are and see their beautiful voices bring my characters to life. The pilot isn't anything without these people, and I'm so happy to have found such beautiful fits for these characters that are very near and dear to my heart. Anyway, I feel like I'm getting a little bit sentimental, a little bit emotional, and I am rambling, which is what I tend to do. I tend to ramble quite a lot. Hi. So I think this is where I'm gonna leave you, at least for this voiceover. I hope you're enjoying the video so far.
Good morning, everyone. It is Tuesday, July 22nd. It's the second last time I'm going to check in with you in this VOD today. And we've made a little bit of progress this week. I think last week I was saying that I wanted the backgrounds for scene 11, scene 12, and scene 1 done because scene 1 is just a background picture. And I managed to get through most of it. I did the backgrounds and the motion, actually, for scene 11 and 12. The motion isn't all that much. It's just like bopping the stills, maybe doing a bit of tilting to create the illusion of movement, stuff like that. And I didn't get to scene 1, as you can see, but that's because last night I had finished scene 11 and 12. I was like, okay, cool, time to hop into scene 1. And I looked at it and I was like,
I want to do scene 4 first. So I think we're working through it backwards now. I'm currently working on scene 4's backgrounds. And then we'll funnel our way down to 1. Ideally, this is what like all of the rows are gonna look like by the end of the month. Like all the roughs, line, color, backgrounds, and motion will be done for all of these scenes, except for 5 to 10 for obvious reasons, because that's how much I'm currently able to work on at this current point in time. If I remember correctly, the voice actress for Mother should be in the process of recording her new lines, so hopefully by the end of the month I can get scenes 6 to 9, like the dialogue all sorted out, so that I can start roughing those. I completely forgot to put out notices or casting calls for the new characters. I said I was going to do that last Tuesday, and I didn't think about it until last night, so that has to happen today. There weren't any hiccups this week. There wasn't any drama. It was just a really quiet, like, buckle down, get your work done. There was a couple of days where I didn't get as much work done as I wanted to, because things like last minute collabs, hanging out with people, stuff like that. But I still got most of it done, so that's really good. I think it's probably a good idea to not set up the casting call until today, because I feel like I would have been a little bit overwhelmed if people had started putting their like auditions through to me that early. I don't know. I'm the kind of person that like once a new phase of a project starts, I get a little bit overwhelmed and I start doing a little bit of what I was doing and then a little bit of the new stuff, and it gets really messy. But yeah, that's basically what happened last week. So TLDR, finished the backgrounds, finally get the casting call up. I can't believe I forgot. And then I think that's going to be it for this week. This is our second last check-in, so I kind of want to have everything done by then, but I'm not entirely sure if I will. I guess I'll see you around. Okay, so time got away from me. It's technically not July anymore, but here is the progress for the month. I managed to do everything that I physically could do for the project, which I'm so happy for. That means all of the scenes left are scenes that need the new Mother voice lines, which I got last night, and they sound great, and I'm so excited. So yeah, now that July has come to an end, I need to hop back on some of my other stuff, some of my other responsibilities. It's really dark. I'm gonna turn the light on. But yeah, since July is over, I need to take at least a month to kind of get some of my other affairs into order. The snooze arrived in the middle of July, so I really need to get that stuff up and running. I have a couple of conventions coming up, so I need to organize all of that. But realistically, I think I'm going to do this again. I think I'm going to spend August hyping up and like building up all of my backlog again, and then maybe spend September working on either the Faeries Tale again or my graphic novel, because this was really fun. I do still have to rewrite I think it was scene 5 and scene 10, the conversation between Kuro and Jimmy and the conversation between Kuro and Pandora. I do have some of it figured out, but there's little bits that I still need to finesse. I need to extend the conversation a little bit, just scripting stuff. And then on top of that, I also sent out the voice acting auditions, finally. I said I would do them week 2, and then I forgot week 2, and then I said, oh, I do them week 3, and then I forgot week 3, and I actually only sent out the private listing like a couple of days ago. So the private VAs have until August 14th, and then if they don't apply, or if there's like none of them really hit the mark, then the casting call will be made public. So as of the time this vlog is going up, the VA listings or the casting call is still private. But I might make an announcement when it's made public. I don't know. We'll see what happens. But yeah, I've got a lot of work to do. I'm really, really hoping that next time I do this for the Faeries Tale, the leftover work does not take the entire month, and I actually have a tiny bit of time left to start working on episode 2, because episode 1, all the VAs are volunteering. Episode 2 onwards, I have said that I would pay them, so we need to see how that's gonna go. But I'm really excited, and yeah, I'm just rambling at this point, but I've got a really busy day today. Thank you everyone so much for joining me on this journey. I've had a lot of fun. And while the Faeries Tale is not yet finished, and not yet ready for your viewing pleasure, hopefully it will be really soon. So
I'll see you next week. Back to the usual, this is what I'm doing this week, this is what I'm doing this week type shit. Bye.